Welcome back, everybody. Today I want to talk about the HexClad pan that I reviewed back in 2019. Now, I reviewed it way back before it was a celebrity chef endorsed pan, before that lawsuit, and before some changes they made by the pan as well. But what's interesting is in the years since, there's been kind of two camps about the HexClad pan. Some people love it, some people say it doesn't hold up over time. There really is no real consensus, so I'm kind of curious why I fall on one side and not the other. Because I've been using this for 6 years now. So is there any difference between my pan and people out there complaining about theirs? Maybe. Let's talk about that in today's video. Now, when I first did my HexClad review back in 2019, when I concluded, I was kind of on the fence about it. In fact, I think I said I was on the fence. So in the end, I'm a little bit on the fence about the HexClad. I liked the non-stick surface, although it wasn't as good as the granite rock that I compared it to at that time. I also didn't like that it was discolored, which it still does. And I also thought it was kind of overpriced, which it still is. So in the years since, I've used this consistently, I've abused it consistently, and I've had pretty good luck with it. Why haven't others? And I should point out, this is not a sponsored post. I've only communicated with HexClad one time. That was an email I wrote earlier this week to ask a question about this video, which I'll talk about later. So in the years since I reviewed the product originally, I mean, it's gotten more popular. There's been a lot of advertising for it. They've sold a lot of them. They've expanded their lineup from just one pan to a whole bunch of different types of cookware. So it's a lot different now than it was in 2019. So I wrote to the company earlier this week and I asked them if there was any change in the manufacturing process from 2019 till now. And they said the pan itself is exactly the same, but the coating was changed in 2024. The coating on this pan is PTFE, and the coating on the newer pans is what they call Terabond. But that change only occurred in 2024, and opinions have been divided almost since the beginning. Now, I've always kind of extolled the virtues of taking care of your nonstick pans over the years, you know, not using too high of heat, not using metal utensils, letting them cool down before washing them, not using nonstick spray. All of which I generally do, but I've broken every one of those rules on this one. Because over the years, I kind of realized no matter how much I abuse it, it still holds up. Take a look at the surface, you can see it looks pretty good. Now, twice over the last 6 years, I've actually taken some Barkeeper's Friend and a scouring pad and completely cleaned the surface as well. I did that once a few years ago and once last week. I'll show you some pictures of how discolored it was before and after. So on the screen, I'm going to show you, this is how it looked when it was discolored. It looked pretty bad. An hour later, after some Barkeeper's Friend and a steel wool, it looked beautiful. I also re-seasoned the pan after doing that deep clean. I'm not sure if you're supposed to or not, but I figured it couldn't hurt. And what's weird, I've only done a few tests. It's already getting discolored again. It's very apt to getting discolored. Something that was one of my original complaints, and I still stand by that. It doesn't take long for it to start discoloring. But the discoloring has never really affected the cooking of it. It's just more aesthetics though. But let's now go to some of my retests. First up, I'm gonna go to the shrimp test. Back in my original test, I did the granite rock versus the HexClad. I put some raw shrimp in there and let it go. Here's how it looked in 2019 and then again in 2025. Got 12 shrimp in here, 12 shrimp in here. Now normally you'd put something in the pan, but I'm testing the nonstick surface, so we're going in commando style. Shrimp right in the pan. For HexClad, I'm only using metal utensils. For granite rock, I'm using the clongs that have the silicone on the ends. And we're off. Let's see how these do. Oh, came right off. All right, HexClad, bringing your A game for the shrimp. Now over here, the granite rock, which I've done shrimp in here before. And once again, not sticking. Now my next question is, can it swirl around without being dislodged? Maybe. It's probably not ideal, but how about granite rock? About the same. Maybe a little better. I think the nonstick surface is a little better on granite rock, aka granite stone, than it is on HexClad. I feel so wrong doing that. Well, they both did pretty well with the shrimp, so that's good. I think that the HexClad cooked a little bit faster, and the granite rock has a little better nonstick surface. All right, that took about the same amount of time as the granite rock, so I think we're kind of on even keel here. So let's try some more tests and see how this pan works. All right, for this test, I'm gonna be recreating my shrimp test, but before I do that, I wanted to point something out here. Now, I originally tested out the HexClad versus the granite rock pan, which was going around at that time, and I felt like the granite rock had maybe a little bit better non-stick surface than the HexClad, but 6 years later, we have a big change. Watch this. I mean, you can see the surface is completely degraded. The pan isn't, I don't even use this pan anymore. With regular use, the granite rock just did not hold up that long. While the HexClad, meanwhile, still performing like a champ. But let's get this going with some shrimp with no oil or butter like I did 6 years ago. All right, to recreate it as closely as possible, I have 12 shrimp, just like last time. I'm even dumping them from the same bowl as last time, and I'm using the same utensil as well. Dropping them in with no oil or butter. Just kind of randomly dropped them in there. We'll let them sit and see how they stick, or not. All right, let's see how these release now. I'm assuming they're gonna do fine, but we shall see. Here we go. Oh yeah, no problem. Easily released. HexClad still bringing the A game after all these years. I think last time I tried to see if I could do the shake test, if they would shake loose or not. I got one. I'm not sure if that test is really anything other than just a parlor trick on television commercials, because all you have to do really is just easily release them with some tongs. And then you can do your shake test here. All right, so I'm gonna scrape you loose some of the big pieces here. Let this cool off and then we will clean it off and see how it does. It's been my experience that it should do well, but we'll do it on camera anyways. So as you can see, I really didn't have to do much scrubbing. The soft side of the brush took all the residue off. So 6 years later, that test was quite a success. By the way, I had a little bit of extra shrimp, so I put a tiny bit of oil on the bottom. I'm gonna fry these up. Not really part of the comparison test here, but just to let you know, I'm still using it. When there is a little bit of oil on the bottom, it does do the shake test quite well. Now, as you can see, there really wasn't much difference between the 6 years of use. The shrimp dislodged nicely from there. Another test I wanted to redo was the Quesadilla test, because that's something they were showing in their advertising. I redid it in 2019. Let's redo it again in 2025 and see how the difference is there. All right, a popular demonstration is making a quesadilla. I'm going to use the HexClad with the granite rock side by side to see how it compares. Now, in the demonstration, he puts cheese in the pan, lets it melt, puts a tortilla shell on top, wipes it around, folds it over, and cuts it in the pan. This should not take long at all. Oh, Bailey smells the food. Looks like the granite rock's a little bit more melted than the HexClad, so we'll do that one first. He pushed it on there. He wiped it around. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's something left on there. And he put it over there. And then he fold it like that. Now for the HexClad. I mean, I guess, I don't know, the result's the same? There's still a little bit of cheese left in there. Oh look, I just picked up the granite rock and the extra cheese came off. The HexClad, the extra cheese, kind of coming off. I'm gonna cut this with my Star Trek pizza cutter. They did say you can use metal utensils in here. Well, I don't see any scratches. Do I see any scratches? I don't think I see any scratches. I don't think I see any scratches. It looks pretty good. Handful of cheese. Hiya! All right, it's mostly melted now. Let's do it. Here's how we did it in 2019. He placed it on there, kind of pressed on the top, swirled it around. There might be a technique to this that I'm not getting, but this is how he did it. And there we go. And once again, I left some cheese in the bottom. We'll deal with that later. Folding it over. I think last time when I folded it over, it actually picked up some of the cheese on the other side, so we'll do that. It's stuck not to the bottom, but to the cheese itself. It's stuck to the cheese. All that beautiful burnt cheese on there. But you know what though? All that burnt cheese came right off. Look at this. It's coming right off, no problem. So, I mean, I guess, you know, it seemed to work pretty well, but I have one more thing to do. That's get my Star Trek pizza cutter and cut it in the pan. And this is what they did in their demonstrations in 2019, and that's what I'm doing. And it looks like this cheese is gonna come right out, so I don't know, I think it did pretty well in 2025. Once again, not a huge difference in the performance in 2025. I used the same Star Trek pizza cutter, and you know, I don't see any scratches. I don't see any, I mean, I've used knives and other utensils in here as well over the years. I don't see any issues. Another test I wanted to show, which is a couple years ago, I was doing the Emeril Forever pan, and they showed them using a mixer in their pan, so I figured I'd do it on the HexClad because I knew the HexClad would actually hold up. So I did that test in the Emeril pan and the HexClad. The Emeril did not hold up well. So the mixer basically ruined the Emeril pan, which I returned and got another one. And the HexClad, no problem. This is the durability test from the commercial where I use this mixer on the surface. I should say, of all the pans I reviewed before, the HexClad is the only one that had pretty crazy demonstrations in the commercials, and I was able to duplicate them successfully in my test. All the others either didn't make such crazy demonstrations or failed them. So for that reason, the HexClad is going to join us for this part of this video. They show it in the commercial, HexClad showed it in their commercial. You run a mixer on the inside of it and see if it scratches. The instructions do say, to extend the life of the pan, do not cut food on the cookware using sharp utensils such as forks, knives, mashers, or whisks. Doesn't say anything about mixers, and they do show in the commercial, so it seems fair to use one on this surface. We're going to put the Emeril out of the way. We're going to do the HexClad one more time. Now, I haven't done the HexClad since on my review. I mean, I've used it a lot since then. I haven't used a mixer in there. I don't know why you want to use a mixer in a pan, and why do they show that in the commercials? I don't know. You have to really believe in the pan surface if you're going to do that. All right, here we go. Look at this. Around the edges, around the edges. All right, I'll show you a close-up in a little bit, but I can already tell you that the surface looks completely unfazed by the mixer. Here we go. All right, the bottom is not a big deal. Let's hit the sides. No. Oh no, hold the phone, time out. Ooh, I saw some not good looking marks on that. Let me grab a camera and show you a close up. See those scratches right? You can see those scratches right there, all the way around the edges from the mixer. Not pretty, not pretty. Now the HexClad I have, this is, first of all, it's a 3-year-old pan. There's some discoloration. There are no scratches on the HexClad. I was watching as I was mixing it. I don't see any scratches that appeared while I was using the mixer on it. Emeril pan, I did see scratches appearing. I did not see that with the HexClad at all, just with the Emeril. Speaking of mixers, I want to do one more test on here, which was the scrambled egg test I did in 2019 and 2025. Let's take a look at both those tests 6 years apart and see what happened. First thing I'm going to do is see how this pan holds up with just the mixer, nothing in there. See if maybe that's just a parlor trick they're doing. Let's see. I'm not pressing very hard, and I don't see anything. Ooh, that didn't sound good. All right, I'm gonna put some eggs in here and see how it actually does. All right, I've got 2 eggs. They're going right in the pan. I'm gonna mix them in there. It just feels wrong. But let's see how wrong it really is. Oh, all right, we're mixing. This doesn't seem like very efficient anyways. I don't think I would normally do this. I'm not really sure that's the most efficient way to make eggs in there. There really isn't a recipe guide for how to scramble eggs in the pan, so that may have not been the best way to do it. But that's irrelevant. It's not the egg cooking that matters, it's the pan, how it holds up to that, I think. I'm gonna let this cool off, and then I'm gonna closely inspect the pan to see how it held up, especially the edges, because it sounded like it was kind of making some nasty noises over there, like this. See, that doesn't sound good. I'm just gonna keep doing it right there. I'll come back in a minute and see how it looks. Let me take a very close look at this pan after using the mixer on it. I don't see any marks. I'm a little bit impressed. This is the area that I was focusing on toward the end. Nothing. What I do see is, you can look, discoloration though. That is the problem. All right, it's time for the egg/mixer test now. Now in 2019, I sprayed some cooking spray in there. I don't know why. Maybe that's how they did the demonstration. I can't think of any other reason why I would do that when I'm testing a nonstick pan. But I'm not gonna do it this time. We're not doing any spray. We're just gonna go eggs right in the bottom of the pan, and then we're mixing it. When all my tests are over, we'll take a closer look at the surface and show how it's held up from just these tests. Not to mention 6 years of use. So here we go. Once again, this is not how I would normally scramble my eggs, but that's what we're doing this time. Oh yeah. Get in there, that's right. That technique completely obliterates the eggs, which I guess is kind of cool when you're testing it out. The point of this test is not really the egg as much as it is the bottom of the pan when I'm done, which I'm pretty sure I said back in 2019. So I'm gonna scrape all this out of here. And I think it's about time to take a closer look at the bottom of this pan. Once again, that was only about an hour ago I did that last test. No issues on the surface. I don't see any scratches, nothing. It looks perfectly fine now. So that leads me to the question of why the divided opinion on the HexClad pan over these years. Let's take a look at some of the Amazon photos. Some of them are showing the pan that is completely degraded. A lot of people are showing it as sticking. I don't experience that problem, so it's kind of weird for me to see those because that's not what I experience. The only thing I can think of is maybe they're spraying nonstick spray on there. That's the one thing I don't ever do on a nonstick pan is put nonstick spray. That can cause a buildup that can cause sticking. I've never done that. I hardly use nonstick spray at all, and I'd never use it on the HexClad. Maybe that's it, I don't know. I had said earlier that I contacted the company and they said that their coating had changed. In 2024, they went to a ceramic Terabond coating, so maybe that has something to do with some of the newer people having problems with it, I don't know. But some people on there saying they've had theirs a couple years and it's degraded, so that's before the coating changed, so I don't know. The only thing I can really think about, and this is just pure speculation, and this is something I've encountered with other products as well, is sometimes there's a difference in the manufacturing process. In 2019, they were kind of a smaller company and they were growing, so is it possible that there's inconsistencies or differences in the manufacturing process? Maybe. Is it possible that user behavior has caused such a divide? Possible, but I mean, I've really abused my pan. I've broken every rule and my pan has held up beautifully. It looks almost, I mean, I wouldn't say it looks brand new, but it certainly doesn't look like something's been used for 6 years straight. So in the end, would I buy another HexClad now? Based on my experience, I tend to say yes, but on the other hand, based on all the user experiences and the fact that they changed the coating last year, maybe not. I spent 18 bucks on this Sinsart pan last year, and this thing is gotten regular use and is still held up beautifully as well. 10% of the cost of this pan. Now this is a smaller pan as well, but still. You'd have to go through 10 of these to spend the same amount you do on one of these. And I'm over a year in this one and it's nowhere near being ready for retirement. So if I had to guess why there's such a divide in HexClad over the years, I would say it's a combination of things. There's possible there's been minor differences in the manufacturing process, even the materials over the years. They did change the coating. Maybe some people are using excessive nonstick sprays on theirs. And there could be certain batches that are just duds. It's kind of unfortunate that so many people have had such different opinions in this one because I've had nothing but positive experience with mine. But on the other hand, it doesn't seem like my experience matches everybody else out there. So with that, I would tread lightly when looking into an expensive pan like this. But that's all I've got. If you've tried the HexClad before or after the coating change, tell me what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you watching and I'll see you next time.